Hello, this is Lisa LeRose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I am joined today not only by my wonderful co-host, Michael J. Russ, I'm going to say a big welcome to you, but also by Franki Love, who is just such an amazing soul, an amazing musician, and I am so honored that you are here to be with us today. And I just want to welcome you both, and I have to say, you have a new music video coming out, and you had a little bit of an introduction, and I thought this would be a really great place to start because they're just absolutely perfect words, Franki. You said that when you compose music, you open your heart and you let whatever comes out. And I just absolutely love that. I think that it is so special and so important for us to trust that in every aspect of our lives. And that's sort of how Michael and I let the show unfold, that it is whatever comes out, comes out. And at the end, we both go, wow, that was pretty interesting where the course of the conversation took us. So, big welcome to both of you. And I thought that would be an amazing place to start. But I wanted to just talk about some of the posts that we've been seeing and the comments that we've been seeing on a video that we posted on Instagram. And it has to do with our connection to our heart and recognizing that we are enough. Oftentimes we don't feel worthy. It's because we're so focused perhaps on pleasing others instead of ourselves. Maybe it's because we want to be loved. Maybe it's because we want to be rewarded, or that we have to be in a place of ego, and people say, no, you know what, just be quiet. When we're little kids, that it's that's not, just sit down in your seat and your opinion doesn't matter. But what we recognize as we get older is that we do matter, and we don't really need to operate from a place where what other people think of us matter. It's what we do. But it's very vulnerable to be in that place. And oftentimes we come from a place of fear. It's the opposite of love. And it's hard to reconnect with the positive feelings of joy, happiness, bliss, abundance that make us feel powerful. And so I think that would be an amazing place to sort of speak about on the show today. And I'll just start with that and maybe talk about like how we go from negative feelings into a more positive space, and just recognize that. So I'll let either one of you comment on, and I'd love to see where what comes out comes out. Open our hearts, and what comes out come out.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And very, very happy to. However, I want to ask, this is something that I've been wanting to ask Franki to kind of elaborate on this process, because I know the creative process is not really always smooth. So how would you do that in music? Go from a place of lower frequencies to higher frequencies. How do you get yourself there? I think that's the question I want to ask.
That's a great question. To go from lower frequency to higher frequency, I feel as though when I open my heart, like Lisa, you were saying, I think that the key really is to open your heart and to not think. I think that the mind, once the mind starts to take control, it kind of closes up the heart. And the heart, to me, when it's open, is high frequency. And when you combine the heart being open with a pure intention, and so when I'm writing a song or singing, the intention is really to express the best that I can find in myself, to inspire the best in someone else when they listen, then the frequency is lifted. And so that's really what I do in it, and as long as I keep things as simple as possible, I'm raised to the high frequency pretty quickly.
Awesome,
Wow.
awesome. And do you in the process make sure that, because this is something I find is incredibly important in this process in order to elevate yourself to those frequencies and maintain them, do you kind of shut out the outside world to make that happen, kind of make sure that you control the influences that you're exposing yourself to?
Do you mean like go into a quiet place, or do you mean just
the 3D world? You've got a daughter, a lovely daughter,
yeah.
obviously, and
Yeah.
she has to deal. She's got things that she's dealing with, and I hear she's incredibly brilliant, and I'd love to hear more about her.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just, obviously, for me, I know I shut myself off from the 3D world when I'm looking to be creative in any way, shape, or form. And I make sure that I kind of limit the influences, the outer influences, the 3D world influences that I expose myself to, be that news or reading something or magazines and things of that nature. Just stay away from that stuff, because it has a tendency to mess with your frequencies, because it's usually negative.
Yes,
do you
absolutely.
That's the kind of space I'm asking about. You kind of curate your life when you're in a creative mode.
I definitely, every day I would say that I'm in a creative mode. So my life, I've tried to design it in a way where everything around me, to my best ability that I can control it, that I surround myself with high vibration people, not a lot of friends, just a handful of very good intention, loving, kind people, and we can lift each other up. And then I don't watch the news, and also the food that I eat, I try to eat organic foods, and I start my day in gratitude, and all day long I stay in gratitude. I try to stay in gratitude, and so yes, definitely. And I think that doing those things, just surrounding yourself with positive, high vibration people, eating foods that are healthy, and just staying in gratitude, that can change your life in many ways.
I think you're right. Thank you so much. That's really beautiful, and important for people to hear, because I find actually that people that I know and that are out there and around, maybe our listeners, really don't take the time to really curate their life in that way. It is so important. I was listening to Pam Gregory, the astrologer, this morning during my walk, and what was interesting was that she said, I haven't seen the news in 4 years. I haven't read the paper or seen the news in 4 years. And that's because we have to look at every nuance of what we're exposing ourselves to and eliminate those things. There's low-hanging fruit. It's called news, social media, and other stuff that's low-hanging fruit to get rid of. It's easy to you can be a positive influence in social media and the internet when you're putting out positive, high-frequency material, high-frequency vibrations, positive things, and that is the only way that I interact with that media source. And I'm sure all of you do the same thing. However, the problems that we have today is that this is real. Facebook and Instagram, these are real, and it's a function of, like, you go through your Instagram feed, and anybody who's got any negative stuff, you just literally block them out. You get rid of them. You unfollow them. And it's kind of like unfollowing various influences in your life, so that what you're exposing yourself to is a very, very carefully curated life world of people and influences that make you smile, that bring joy to your life, that make you enthusiastic about life, that instill, that give you that warm feeling of love that you have when you're reading it or when you're looking at it. Playing with, taking the time to look into your daughter's eyes and really see her, spirit and soul unfolding. There's wonderful things and joys that we can get out of life if we take the time to focus on them. And it's really about what you said, the word intention, right? It's intention.
Can I tell you guys something? When you were speaking, I realized that I have not looked at my Facebook feed in maybe 7.5 years since my daughter was born. I have not looked at it because it just I don't know what it does, but it brings my vibration low, and I have not looked at it. I post on Facebook to share things, and then I jump off, and I seldom go into the Facebook feed.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
For about the same amount of time. Yeah, we do. I mean, I'll repost something. I've reposted yesterday. I reposted on Facebook from Instagram to Facebook 3 beautiful postings from you, Lisa, and I'm going to do a lot more of that. Yeah, I want to do that. I want to do a lot more of that. She produces really awesome stuff, and I could post Franki, your stuff, your share your music in the feed. People, we can circle back around to your to the post and why it is so impactful for people, so impactful. And you mentioned a couple of things. I wrote down the words perfection, acknowledgement, love, understanding. People, it's an innate need to be acknowledged as a soul. It's just part of oneness. Part of oneness is acknowledgement, acknowledging another human being exists. And in our society today, we have, especially in cities where there are a lot of people, there's a lot of density. What you don't find is connection. You don't find oneness because privacy is a premium. Privacy is a premium. Mm-hmm. You live in a small place. You go to work. You have to be in transit. You're in even though you're in your own car, you're surrounded by hundreds of people on a freeway. Then you get out and your sidewalks are crowded. I mean, the elevators are crowded. Everything's crowded, right? And that was one of the things that I really, when I moved from Northern California to where I live right now along the beach in the Panhandle of Florida, I definitely, the thing that makes my life so joyous at this particular point is that the curation that I put forth was literally changing my geographic location. And that's not something most people will do. I have the ability to work out of my office now for this is my 20th year working out of my home office, and I find that one move has made a tremendous difference in my ability to curate the rest of my life, right? Mm-hmm. So now I can do what you do, Franki. I get up in the morning. I've been doing it for 20 years. Get up in the morning, you decide how your day is going to, you could get out of bed with a positive attitude, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to make it every month now for 38 years. I have no clue. I don't get all caught up, wrapped up in whether I'll be able to pay my bills at the end of the month. And there's a lot of bills to pay. So I find that if you focus on that, you lower your frequency, and you as you give what you get is what you give. If you get caught up in that fear, it begets everything that comes along with it, which is the negativity. It bounces right back to you. Things will go wrong. You won't be able, inspiration and creativity get shut down. So does happiness. All of that happens. And as soon as you step into that space of concern, okay, which is based in fear or worry or frustration, all of that goes away. You lose that ability to curate your own existence. because you are now vibrating at a level that is sucking in all of that stuff that you really don't want in your life. And it shuts everything else down. It just shuts it down, And so we have, the three of us have the capability. We've been curating our life for years. We've been curating our life and continuing to do that. And this whole concept of why, the whole idea of why the post, in my view, is being so well received is for two reasons. Partially, the first reason is that it's resonating because people say, that's me. Second reason is I want to be more of that. I want to understand. I know this is what I need. How do I get there? How do I get there? And I think it's a cry for help. It's like, how do I get to this place? This is this nirvana, this Shangri-La that everybody, that you and your radio show podcast keep referring to. How do I get there? The three of you are kind of there. How do I get there? And we can talk about the nuances of the 3D world and how we kind of, as I love that word, curation, because you are doing that. You have to really, down to every nuance, every micro thought, you have to curate. Right. Consciously. 100%. I'm sure you're not talking negatively about yourself or anything that goes on, Franki, because that's contrary to the process of creation. Am I right?
Yes. Of course, we are all human, and so of course, there's things that I think about and things that confuse me about, being human. But I agree with you. The curating your life, it's a very powerful thing, and I'm very careful. I almost feel as though I'm allergic to toxicity on all levels. I try
That's great. I love that.
Oh, thank goodness.
and when you're an empath, and I'm guessing you guys are. I am an empath, but I feel things very strongly, and I can, you feel things and you sense things. So at this point, I've really worked hard, because it's not something that instantly you curate your life. It takes work. It could take a year to say, okay, I want a geographic change. I want a job change. I want to have positive people. But once you get to that point where you're feeling in such a high vibration, I think it's hard to be around anything that feels, anything but very high vibration. Do you guys feel that way too?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we had a conversation a while back about science actually proving this, and that we have in each of us these mirror neurons. So if I'm smiling, you are receiving the vibration of the thoughts and the feelings that I'm experiencing. It's just the way that it works. And I think that's what's so fascinating when we say that we are all one, we're all in this together, because sometimes we get separated from that. And I like the analogy of a funhouse mirrors. If you've ever been to a carnival where they have these mirrors, and they make you look absolutely ridiculous. Wider, fatter, squished up like who knows what, distorted. And I think sort of that's what's going on in the world today, that there is something that has happened that is illusionary, right? And this inner state of being that's being mirrored back to people, that's being reflected, it is the opposite of positive. It is the opposite of love. It's the opposite. And some of us, in order to cope with it, because you and I and the three of us have the ability to filter, and we ask for discernment. We ask, does this serve me? And then you ask that you have that connection. But I think for a lot of people, it's a remembrance, a re-education, something that we have to learn again. I know it sounds strange, but, I think back to some of the dance classes I had as a kid, and if I really thought about the steps, I could probably go through the routine again. But, and that's sort of what it is. We get, and as strange as it may sound to some people, those feelings that get pushed down, be a big girl, don't cry.
Right.
Don't, that's not acceptable. Whatever it is that we're conditioned to, and for me, I consider myself a constant student of the universe. I try to read books all the time. I try, if something shows up for me and it resonates with me. So I took a class the other night, and I just want to share what this teacher said. It was absolutely, and it was so interesting because I had no idea what to expect. It was on healing, but she said that right now there's mass confusion in the world, and she said that if you look at it, think of it like a clogged pipe. So we've got this mass confusion that's going on, and the water is not flowing through these pipes because there's all kinds of gook stuck in there. So how do you go in and how do you clear that out? And I really love that analogy because I thought to myself, we have, these challenges, and whether it be, projection, reflection, judgment, whatever it is that clogs our pipes, we have to be able to say, you know what, I want to go back to that state of flow. I want to go back to that grand expression of myself and be brave and be strong and know that inside I am peace and joy and love and laughter. And so, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. I know it's an interesting concept, but I thought to myself, how do we re-educate? And it's a big topic. But it's about, whether it be, realigning yourself through restorative yoga, or I'm not sure, and music. And I'm really excited to hear these 2 new songs that you're releasing. I think they're coming out tonight. Is that right, Franki?
Oh, one song actually came out at midnight, and so it's out. And there's another song coming out on February 22nd. But I'm starting to release more music lately, and I will plan to release even more music in 2023 because I feel as though music is very important right now. For me, to create it is very healing, but I want to connect more with others and share more music to hopefully, inspire people and connect with people. So there's so I'm releasing more music, but I do want to say, when you were talking about the positive class that you were taking in and just kind of getting back to ourselves, I think that time, like, there's a quote, I forgot who said it, but they said that the quote is, meditate 15 minutes a day, and if you don't have time for that, meditate an hour a day. Find an hour a day. And I forgot who said it, but I think it's so important to, a lot of people distract themselves because we have these phones. And so everyone's looking down at their phone. They're looking at the news or their apps or seeing who texted them. And how does anyone have time to just take a deep breath and curate their life or love themselves more, or try to figure out, like, diagnose themselves and say, well, what is inside me that needs healing? So I think it's really important to spend, and I'm so busy, it's really hard for me to find the time to, have time to just relax. But I was thinking this morning, it would be so nice to have a full day where, instead of thinking about the next thing to do on my to-do list or looking at my phone, to actually turn off the phone and relax and get a notebook and write down some of the things that make me happy, or some of the things that I want to work on in myself. But I don't think people do that because we all have a phone in our hand. And that's why I think a lot of people, there's mass confusion as well, because every time someone looks at their phone, there might be one person that sees a certain, view on something, and another person, and we are being brainwashed to a certain extent.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, I mean it is very true. We're brainwashing, controlled. I'm a big. I've spent the last 50 years in the business world, and I can clearly see how people are allowing themselves to be controlled by either the stock market or the business. This societal thing where it's all about making as much money that you possibly can, and luxury, lux, it all sells. Everybody wants to be on a yacht in the Mediterranean every summer or every winter, and yeah, all that is really cool. However, I know people that have lots of money that aren't happy. So it's not about that. You might think, oh yeah, when I get there, if. And I think about this, there were 2 Harvard studies. The one that actually discovered that $75,000 a year was sort of like the point of diminishing returns when it came to happiness economically. Yeah, $75,000. So if you made $1 more than $75,000, you weren't. If you made $75,000 $1, you weren't any happier. You weren't any happier than somebody who made $75 million. Okay, you weren't any happier than that. Now, I disagree with that 100 ways to Sunday, because, quite frankly, the amount, the potential giving and enhancing other people's lives that you can actually make. If you've got $750 million, what you can do is amazing. The problem in life is that people are hoarders. And if they have more money than they can possibly spend, it's all about status. It's all about hoarding. This is an interesting thing. The average, people don't know this, but the average foundation expenditure every single year is 8%. So if they're a $100 million foundation, they only spend every year 8% of that money, year in and year out. And people think, oh, this is so fantastic. This foundation does so many cool things. Yeah, no, 8% of $100 million is all they put out. The rest of the money is with hedge fund managers, and it's invested with wealth managers to grow and grow and grow and grow. So if they're making 8% a year, they're giving away 8% a year. And basically it may go up to 10 if they make 10% a year. So they're only giving away, it's like an endowment. You give millions of dollars to a college, and it sits in a wealth management fund, and they, 5 to 10% a year goes into some program at the school. It's a function of, there's $9 trillion plus in shell companies in this world. Wow. $9 trillion in shell companies. Mm-hmm. This is money that has been taken completely out of the marketplace. In other words, it means that that's out of circulation. It's in wealth management funds. It's buying futures and oil and gas and futures and whatever. It's buying stocks and bonds and all this kind of stuff. It's being in real estate. It's buying expensive homes in London and San Francisco and New York. It is not being circulated through the economy. So this is what has happened in the last 50 years, is that a lot of money that has been circulating through, and we talk about equality and other things. If you want to start a business and you want to go out and do whatever, how you think about yourself has a lot to do with whether or not you're going to succeed, because then again, that frequency concept comes right back home to roost. Are you putting out the kind of vibe about yourself first, forget about your business, about yourself, in order to attract the kinds of people you want to do business with. And I can tell you, as somebody who's had his own business for 38 years, I only work with people, and I've only attracted people who actually resonate with love and kindness and generosity. And anybody who didn't, I could immediately tell that they were fake. And I said, you need to go see someone else. It was that simple. I don't care how much money you have. I told a guy with $2 million to spend, and I said, you need to go see somebody else. And he got upset because somehow I wouldn't do business. I'm saying, I don't really care how much money you have. You know, your attitude doesn't resonate with mine. You need to find somebody who you do resonate with, who will accept what you're putting out. And it's not me. And you have to be willing to do that. You feel good about yourself when you do it. You maintain your integrity. And according to Pam Gregory, integrity is the big word for this year. Integrity. You have to act think from. Frankie, I'm looking at, I just want to step aside for a second. Is your new release OTS? Is it
No.
OTS?
No, the new release is a single, and it's called Feel So Right.
Feel So Right, which I absolutely love, because that's exactly
Feel
what
Joy.
we're talking about. Yeah, Feel So Right.
Is it on YouTube?
It's not on YouTube yet. It's on Spotify right now.
Okay,
and it's
all right. We'll go there and get it.
iTunes, and but it will be on YouTube next week.
All right, I'm going to go get it on Spotify.
Yeah, for our audience members who want to find you, please, we'll just take a moment so you can share all of the links where people can find you the best way.
Yeah, sure. I'm really active on Twitter. You could find me there at Franki Love Music, and there's no E at the end of Frankie. YouTube is Franki Love Music. Instagram is just Franki Love, and my website is frankilovemusic.com. So those are some links, but if you just Google Franki Love, you'll see everything pop up, and you could click on the links. And I love to connect with people, so I look forward to whoever's listening to connecting with you online.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm looking at your on Spotify, and I'm going to tell my listeners out there who may not be as adept to understanding this. However, you, as a rule, what you put out comes back to you tenfold. So I'm going to simply say this because I know, frankly, you probably wouldn't, but I'm going to give you a shout out for this, because on Spotify, if you have Spotify, and you go to Franki Love, and you go to her fan support, make sure that you click on the PayPal link and get some dough, get some money to Frankie.
Don't worry about it.
No, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I know I don't have to. That's the point. And I'm simply saying that, listen, the artist themselves is the last person to toot their own horn. But I'm going to simply, I've been listening to your music as I walk and as I meditate, and it's awesome, right?
Thank
you. Spotify is, we don't live in the same world that we used to when vinyl was out there, and there were all these royalty checks coming in. Spotify is a service that really does not, you go through all this work. I know it costs you money to produce whatever you're producing, and it's awesome. The product is amazing. So whether it's you, Frankie, or it's other artists too, I want our listeners to understand that when you're benefiting from something vibrationally, that you need to give back as well, and you'll feel awesome about yourself for doing so. You'll feel absolutely awesome for doing so. So I just want to say that, and I'm happy that you have a PayPal link. Some people have Venmo, some people have others that they do. And if I tip a friend who's playing at a bar, okay, at a restaurant, then I certainly can click on PayPal for you. It's no different. It's absolutely no different. If you do a live gig, people do it all the time. So anyway, do me one last favor and tell me what your newest song was again. The title.
The latest song is "Feels So Right."
Feels so right.
Yep, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that I save it and I listen to it and other stuff. You're very beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. I really appreciate what you're putting out and that it's resonating. Let our listeners, because you've been on before, but help our listeners understand the resonance of your music, the frequency of you tune it to what, 432?
Yeah, on the last two albums that I've done, the Moon and the Sun, the intention for those albums were to soothe people with anxiety that people were experiencing through the pandemic, and to help people who were feeling sick. And so all the songs on the Sun are 432 hertz, and on the Moon, most of the songs are also 432 hertz, and that's a frequency that can really help open up your heart chakra, help you connect with your intuition, and overall give you a nice sense of well-being. And I've gotten so much feedback that the albums help people to reduce their anxiety, and they've tried everything and nothing works, and the albums have helped them, and to also go to sleep when they have sleeping problems. So that's been very rewarding to hear.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Great. No, that is.
Just
and
one
I
last
love,
question.
Go ahead, Michael.
I just wanted to ask you, did you turn your own album on last night when you had problems sleeping, Frankie?
Well,
I had to go there.
I didn't have I didn't have problems sleeping last night. I woke up really, really early. And I extremely early at 4 a.m. and I just didn't go back to sleep. But to answer your question, sometimes I actually will listen to the Moon or the Sun, and it makes me sleepy. And it works because whenever I get a direct message or an email from someone who says your album's helping me, I kind of check the album and I go, okay, let me see if it works for me, and then it does. And so I say, awesome. Yeah.
That's spectacular. That is really actually quite cool because it really is. It's in tandem with what we're talking about with regard to self-love. We all need to open up our hearts more. It all starts with us. More love out in the world begins with us, with us as individuals, resonating more love. And I think that's why I listen to your music, because it helps me feel really, really good about myself and good about life. It's a matter of that curation, bringing things into your life here and there. That like a building blocks, you're actually built. You create the foundation, and that's you mentally, your own inner conversation, and then you delicately bring things into your life, expose yourself to things that keep that rolling, that keep that feeling, that resonating. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, and you know what, Frankie, you may not realize it, but the time that you awoke, and usually it happens. They say about an hour and 36 minutes before sunrise. So I'm not sure where sunrise was in where you are, but in Vedic and Ayurvedic medicine, they call it Brahma Muhurta. And what it is, it's a time when the spirit receives the most amount of energy. So oftentimes you're encouraged to wake up and do your meditation at that time. It's not always conducive. But I think that, who knows, maybe that was part of the reason your soul felt that it was time to get up. There was something that you were meant to receive. So, I wanted to say anything because with the title, and it couldn't be more appropriate because we're approaching the season of love when people exchange Valentines. Feelings are an interesting thing, and to know what feels right to you. I think that's a really an interesting topic, and I'd love to have your insights on it, because what happens is I think that you can't always choose what happens to you in life, but you can choose how you feel about it. And I don't think people realize that. I think a lot of times it's like, well, XYZ happened to me and I'm going to hold on to it, and geez, that really makes me mad. And rather than choosing something that is more in the realm of positivity. And I think, feelings are magnetic. The heart is magnetic. We become an attraction. So if we do wake up in the morning on the opposite side of the bed and you're a little bit grouchy because you stubbed your toe, and then that feeling, that anger, attracts more challenging events that happen during the day. I mean, you have to be able to choose what you want to focus on life. So I'm just curious, so feels so right, that actually felt right coming out of you. So maybe could you share a little bit more of the inspiration and how all of that unfolded for you?
Sure. Feels so right is a love song, and it's about looking at someone and recognizing all the good in them and not judging them for anything except for the goodness, and to recognize that person and connect with that person on just a connection of unconditional love. And I think that, that's the reason why I released it now is because Valentine's Day is coming closer. But I really feel that we're living in a world that there's so much judgment, and it's very hard for people to be their authentic selves. And if we go back to feeling and recognizing, if we walk down the street and you see a stranger and you could just see something good in them, I mean, simple things like that can really, because we are all connected, it could create a ripple effect. Whenever I meet someone who I've never met before, I try to recognize something I like about them and tell them within the first, 5 minutes that I'm talking to them that I like something about them, because I think that's important to look for the good in our lives, ourselves, but to also recognize that in others. And it's a beautiful thing to do that. So going back to feelings, it's just to express things and express love, and I think that's why we're here for our human existence, to give love, to receive love, and to learn if we've forgotten how to love because we've been through so many hard times and heartbreak, which all of us have been through and will go through hard, challenging times, because that's life, to go back to loving. How do you heal your heart? How do you forgive? How do you forgive yourself? How do you love yourself more? And to share that love with others.
I wish you could see the goosebumps on my arms. It gave me chills.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's beautiful.
That's awesome. I didn't really think about the fact that we were that this is the show that's going to be broadcast on PRN-FM the Saturday before Valentine's Day. It's interesting, very interesting that's the case, and that Franki Love is our special guest today.
I know,
and that just like I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, how come I didn't put this together?
Right?
So yeah, how did I miss this? I'm sitting here looking to put out 3 podcasts in the next 2 days at least as you record them, and I'm like, wow, this is so surreal that this is the case. Thank you so much for letting us know, Franki, about your latest song. Life does feel so right to me. I hope it feels so right to our listeners as well. I know it does for you too, Lisa. And with all the things that we have to deal with, there is, the 3D world has things like bills and income, and if for you, Franki, you've got your daughter and you've got it, you're taking care of a loving little soul, and And I've got a wonderful little cat, and Lisa, you've got lots of pets that you care for. And my significant other and others. There's so much going on out there. You've got to kind of like be a juggling act. But from a perspective of life, I like coming at all of those from a perspective of love. And just to reiterate something that you said, Franki, you're human. Everybody's human. And so the key, I think, to making this all work is to not set your expectations so high that you can't achieve them. Love is not something you put up on a pedestal that you get someday when you achieve some certain thing. You can feel love for yourself any old time, and then you start building upon it. Your micro thoughts need to be rooted in love, and then the macro thoughts will begin to be rooted in love as well, because it will become a habit for you. It'll be something natural. However, the big key for me, and that I want to get across, is that it's easy for us to make love an intention. The work comes in when we're not feeling so loving in a moment, and then we have to come to the quick realization that we're not, and then transform our thoughts and feelings from whatever they are to love, to go back to that, to do that, to make that pivot. That's what it means, in my view, to be a soul in this world, in this 3D environment, is to recognize just that, because we have that power of alchemy to simply pivot from whatever ticked us off that moment. Somebody did something or whatever, and go, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I can attempt to force this, or I can, as you said a little bit ago, you can take it on as your own. You can choose to immerse yourself in it, or you can step outside of it and say, okay, how can I go about this in a different way, a way that's more based in love and kindness and compassion and empathy versus this thing that I've got going on. I don't know why someone's acting like they're acting. However, I know if I'm loving, I can actually impact their behavior and their thought patterns by the frequency of love that I decide to send out. And that's really, and that happens. That's a day-to-day, how do I integrate this into my life thing? I'm always into the practicality of things. It's nice to sit around and say I'm loving and I love this and I love that. It's just, how do you maintain the loving state of being when someone's just rear-ended you? How do you do that? It's happened to me, and I've had to actually do that. And it was a lot of fun to do it and to be loving when someone's just run into my car causing $2,000 worth of damage.
You know why I'm laughing, Michael? I apologize, because I had something similar happen to me, and I was stopped at a construction site, and somebody rear-ended me. And they had the flag guy there, and I got out and I looked. It was like really no big deal. And I happened to be on the phone, and the person that I was talking to said, well, did you get the person's insurance information? I said, no, you know what, it's no big deal. And because we had to go. They turned it okay, go. I didn't want to hold up traffic. It was just a 2-lane road. And then, they got me thinking. I got into this loop of fear and whatnot. Well, I had just come from my office, and I was working at a holistic health practice at the time. I was working with somebody that had colon cancer. And it was, new in the diagnosis and whatnot. And, so I got on the phone, and I'm talking to this person. They're like, you really should get this person's information. So I let the guy pass me, and then I followed him. I felt like a stalker following him to his house. And I said, oh, you know what, just in case there's something wrong with my car, could I please have your insurance information? Gave me his insurance information. We start talking, and I said, it was just, I just came from this appointment with this gentleman, and I said, we were talking about his colon cancer, and he said, oh, my mother healed herself of colon cancer, and she used this. He said she took it, and they said she was terminal, and I thought, oh my God, thank you for hitting my car, because I have access to new information that I didn't have before that could help somebody else. I mean, that is amazing. And really, there wasn't any damage to my car. But what a lesson in trusting why something happens.
Yes.
I mean, really.
Yeah, you can never tell. The last time it happened to me, I was the woman. I was calming down the woman who did it, and I said, "No, it's no big deal. Calm down." She says, "Why are you so calm?" I'm like, "I just ran into you." I said, "Yeah, it's because that's what insurance is for." I said, "Just calm down. Let's get all the information down. We'll call the cop to report." We did that, and I said, "Thank you very much." And I think it was about 3 months later, I called her and asked her how she was doing because she had given me her phone number.
Oh, that's sweet.
And she said, "Oh my gosh, I said, hey, that's for insurance companies to deal with." And the insurance company took care of everything. And for me, it's just I'm not going to come down on another human being who's feeling bad enough at this point because they were temporarily, disconnected from driving and just made a mistake. It happens, and so, again, that's why we have insurance. And by the way, the first guy that did it to me didn't have insurance, and that was $8,500 that my insurance company had to pay out. And I said, okay, I asked him if he wanted to pay my deductible. He said no, and I said, no, all right, no big deal. I'm going. I'm not going to take him to court because that's making myself out to be a victim, and I don't want to have my life ruled by that energy. So we have to live in the 3D world. Doesn't mean that we have to be that we have to resonate with it. We can live very much outside of it, yet connect with it because of the way we feel about ourselves and our life. That really is the point that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's about rising above, your limitations, so-called, the illusion of limitations. And I actually have a question for you, Franki, because when I would do art, and when you're a kid, you have an eraser and you think something has to be perfect, right? Until I ran into this guy and he said, no, just leave the lines there and refine them and go over them, and it will grow into something. So when you are curating your life or, something into, I think everybody has the opportunity to make their life a masterpiece. The way it has to be the way you want to make it. So when you create a piece of music, oftentimes, do you find that it evolves? You may start with something, and then this is the way it sounds, and then you'll revisit it, and you think, oh, I want to change this or do this, or what does that look like for you? And I guess the point I'm trying to get across is the love in saying that, even in this thing that I've created, I can find another possibility that exists that I've not yet explored.
That's a great question. Well, when I write, I really am very gentle with myself. I don't judge what comes out because I think that if you're in a place where you want to create something, you kind of have to let go and know that art is imperfect and everything is imperfect. There's nothing perfect. So when I write and I do the creative process, I take a piece of paper and a pen and I start singing and writing the lyrics and playing the piano, and whatever comes out, I kind of respect it, appreciate it, I'm grateful for it, and will record it, and then I won't listen to it for a week, and then I'll listen back, and I realize, like, wow, that I see the good in whatever I create. I go, wow, I hear that song is great. It just needs, some adjustments, and I'll finish it. Sometimes I'll sit down and write a song in an hour. Sometimes, like, Feels So Right took a long time. That song took a couple months to write. And then we went into the studio and it took a week to record and to finish with, live musicians in the studio. So So everything has its own way of working out. There's a saying that sometimes people will be in your life for a season or a reason or a lifetime.
Right.
And I think when you create or do anything, whether it's writing a book or painting or writing a song or anything, having a new friendship, you just got to kind of go with the flow and see how it transpires and welcome it and enjoy it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Good point. That is
really
awesome. You know, I've done exactly the same thing when it comes to writing a book, writing an audiobook, and going through the process. Even my podcast that I write go through 3 or 4 rewrites. The initial. I think the respect and gratitude of what you said in terms of when something comes to you is really the way to go about it, and the way that it continues to flow. If we get upset of ourselves because it isn't a perfect thing or thing we perceive as perfect, that we kind of again go to the dark side of our lower frequencies and kind of shut off that creative process, and we have to keep it flowing. I keep mine flowing by again doing exactly what you said, being grateful for what came out. It may not be the finished product, however, it's just allowing what's in my head to come out of my head. And by the way, I simply want to say one thing, Frankie. We talk about phones and things and how we use them. The thing I use the most on my iPhone is my notepad. When I'm walking and I'm listening to your music, and something comes across my mind that is profound, either about something something just came to me, I literally stop, take out my hit notepad and write it down, type it in. Because I know it will be gone in the next couple of seconds, right? It'll disappear from my mind, and I don't have I'm not going to take a notepad with me while I'm walking. However, I am already listening to music, and the device is there. It's a function of technology being good. It's just a function of how you use it to enhance your life and well-being. And that I've got just pages of stuff that nuggets of things that I have probably up to this point forgotten about, just literally just typing them in and then just moving on. So they're there in perpetuity, and I can go back to them, revisit them. When we're having a conversation, we're going to have a show about something. I can go back and look at a quote that I wrote down that I heard, or something that came to me. And I love your process. I'm so envious of you. I'm a drummer, and I don't write music. I don't write music because it's not something that I was meant to do. I have friends who do it, but it's just I'm a guy who can sit down and just simply play and feel what I'm playing. And I've been in a studio. I know the process that unfolds. Even for somebody like me who needs to come up with a drum track, a live drum track to somebody else's baby, somebody else's creation. That is one of the most fun processes I've ever been involved in, and because it's where I get to invent something that goes along with somebody else's creation, and it's a blessing to be in that environment. So the birthing of a new anything is spectacular, and we all have the capability to birth something, whatever it may be. And we just have to pay attention to the process, pay attention to the feelings that we're having during the process, and because they are feelings that are unlike anything else.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much, Frankie. I know you have to run, and I just want to say for our audience members, please visit Franki with an I, no E, FrankiLoveMusic.com, and you'll find all of the links there. And I want to mention, and I'll let you guys just say one quick thing after, but one of the nuggets that Michael gave us from his past on one of the last shows was his mantra that he used to speak to himself. And I am going to anchor this in because I want to say it twice. It's to you both, and it's to our audience members. I love you, and you can do anything. I love you, and you can do anything. And I'm going to say it one more time. I love you, and you can do anything.
Beautiful.
That's Michael J. Russ.
Beautiful.
And
yeah,
Frankie,
that's beautiful.
Anything you want to leave our audience with?
You guys are amazing, and I think everyone has a unique gift in them, and the gift is your heart, because I want to say that because Valentine's Day is coming up, but your unique gift is to use your heart as your power to love yourself. The more you love yourself, the more you can love others.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Ooh,
and thank you
Indeed.
both for having me. I am so grateful that you listen to my music, and I really appreciate talking to you guys. It's been so refreshing.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I escaped the 3D world for an hour. Thank you.
Yeah, keep that going.
I gotta jump into my car and get back into it. But I'm gonna try to stay with this energy. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
don't
you
let
so
anybody
much.
disrupt your energy.
Yeah.
Thank you
Looking
so much,
forward
Franki.
to our next conversation. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, guys.